Hello and welcome to the next video of my World's 2022 preview series where we're going to cover junglers, ranking them 24th through 1st. Yesterday we did top lane. If you missed it, that will be at the end of the video. And it's also in the playlist. If you are new to the channel, I did all 24 teams. Did top lane, like I just said, and now onto the jungle. So the playlist is there. Down in the description, you see 3 links: Twitter, Discord, YouTube memberships. Twitter, follow me there. That's self-explanatory. Discord, join us. There's like 275 to 300 of us. I always say a random number within there because that is where we're at. I think I'm at like 289 or something right now. Active, we talked about league. The last day we've talked about crystal ball, and we've also run out of league topics to talk about in this dead period, so things have gotten a little weird. But we're going to move past that because pick'ems and stuff are going on now. There is a space for activities where you can do pick'ems, predictions, and a player pool thing that I set up. So if you want to do that, join. Lastly, YouTube memberships, $3 supports me, keeps the channel live. $10 you get extra content, including NFL fantasy football content, where I do a couple videos a week, and all my League of Legends prediction videos where I go over who I think is going to win a game the day before it happens. So if that interests you, that's at the $10 tier, in addition to getting the little badge in the comment section that you get at $3. Now, yesterday some people, I think I did not get across exactly what these rankings are. These rankings are where the players stand in the current meta going into Worlds. I am not trying to, I think in yesterday's video I did mention when I got to near the top, I said, if the meta does change, I would rank this player here or this player there. I think people may have missed that, which, when they see a 38-minute video, they listen to a certain degree or see the ranking and then, make their comments without watching the video, whatever. But we're going with what the meta looks like right now, and where the players stand right now, not how they looked all year. Otherwise, T1 would still be first, right? 18-0. They would still be first, or RNG would still be first, but that's not the world we live in. So, jungle, last place is Ferret. Once again, another Istanbul Wildcat in last. I promise TCL fans, it's not that I hate you. It's just that this team has not been great the last couple times. If you missed my team preview, I wasn't overly impressed. I'm still not overly impressed. Ferret's numbers looked downright awful coming into this event. His playoff numbers, I think his farm was below 5 and his KP was 54%, which is very bad. Like, what are you doing if you're only involved in 54% of plays as a jungler? Like, this meta is actually a meta where you need to be in the 70s to 75 because it's a facilitator meta. It is not a carry meta. You cannot farm to 6 in this meta and expect to carry games. These champions cannot carry games that are in this meta. Now, the couple champions he played that not many did, Volibear and Nocturne. Yes, we saw not a lot, but a few players play them this past split. But based on the 24 junglers at this event, those are 2 champions that the majority did not play. So Volibear and Nocturne are 2 feathers in his cap that others don't necessarily have. Next is Grell from Isurus. Once again, I have the Latin American player, 23rd. So similar to yesterday in this regard. Grell, I've heard some nice things about him. I've heard that he's got some carry ability, but I don't really see it in the numbers compared to other minor region junglers like Arthur and Steel. So that's kind of where he's sitting right now. Even Husha for that matter, which we'll get to in not very long here. But Grell played Gwen in the jungle. I don't think anybody else even tried Gwen in the jungle this past split. Diana and Lilia. So 3 champions we saw, 3 AP champions we saw actually out of Grell this past split. That maybe he has options in the jungle, and then they go with Saya playing something AD mid. Tristana solo lane got buffed. Lucian, if they don't want to ban Lucian against this team if you're in play-ins or whatever. So Grell is 23rd. And then 22nd is Croc from Loud. a Korean import. In spring, he had very good numbers, carry-oriented numbers, carrying for net shoe minors, literally 1v9. When he went to Loud, it took a little while, I guess, for him to kind of get his feet wet with the team and get used to playing with them. I think language barrier might have been an issue too. In this meta, being a facilitator meta, you kind of have to be on the same page with your laners so your laners can set you up, unlike in spring where you could carry. Croc played J4. That was the only weird champion really he played. The standard champions like Sejuani, Trundle, Poppy, Vi, Viego, Wukong, Lee Sin, Xin Zhao, I think I may have already said him. Those sort of champions I'm not going to mention on here because everybody pretty much played them. It's nothing special if you played those champions. The majority of people gave them a go this past split. So Croc is there. Next is Husha from Beyond Gaming. Husha, it looks like a carry-oriented jungler that's just not in his meta. I will say that I'm probably not giving him his due as a PCS player. Probably should be a little higher given he's a PCS player, but based on what I saw, I mean, he looks like a guy playing a facilitator meta and trying to carry games, which is going to be, like I said, is going to be a troubling thing. I mean, his numbers looked okay, but I mean, he needs to kind of be more facilitator, help Laikai out, help Minji out, right? These couple players are going to need a lot of assistance out of Husha at this event. So, as far as I'm concerned, that's where I have him right now. I'd be happy to see him do better than that. The last major region player, now this is going to be the thing with jungle. So, I'm viewing jungle through a lens of, let me see if I'm on screen. I got to make sure. Yeah, I'm recording, right? Right, it was kind of late to do that, given that I don't edit my videos, so I would have had to redo this. But with the junglers, I believe the jungle role has the littlest amount of skill expression in this meta. I think it's pretty cut and dry what you have to do, and at the same time, you really can't stray away from that too much. And not only that, I feel like in this meta, the junglers are relying so much on their laners to put the lanes in a position via wave management for the jungler to even make a gank possible, which happens in other metas as well. But at the same time, in other metas, for instance, spring, you have an option to, hey, I'm just going to farm till 6, or, oh, I can get creative this way, I can do this, I can do that. Where this meta is pretty much, okay, you may get freaky and gank on level 3, or do this or do that, but there's not as many options, right? So skill expression is limited. And I am not a fan of Juhan. I haven't been for a while. I have him 20th. I really do. I think he's one-dimensional. I did not like how I think this meta may be better for him, the facilitator meta, because it's not as, it's not as, I don't know, there's not so much pressure on Juhan to really do work in this meta, right? He can't, like I said, the lane's Deft get the lane in a good position, let Zika get the lane in a good position. I mean, Kingan's underneath his turret, so you can gank for him. But, like, I wasn't a fan of Juhan when he was with PSG. I'm still not a fan of him now. I think Pioshik is better than Juhan. I think he can offer more for them at this event. So Juhan's 20th. I've not been a fan of his, and I think he's pretty limited. 19th is Bean J. Bean J. People are going to get upset with me because at MSI I ranked him pretty low, but I thought he didn't look that well. I mean, honestly, I thought he was the worst player on Saigon Buffalo at MSI. A lot of people didn't like Froggy. I didn't like Bean J. A couple of Viego games I think stuck out to me as good games, but otherwise he really didn't offer much. And you're going to say, why didn't I mention champions with Juhan or Husha? Because, another thing against them, Juhan, it's not really fair to do this because he didn't play many games, but they didn't play anything out of the box. That's why I didn't mention champions for them. Now back to Bean J. I really just have a sour taste in my mouth from that. He really did not do that well for Saigon Buffalo against GAM Esports, I thought. So Bean J just kind of is, I really don't think that he is the one that's going to be really making Saigon Buffalo go. Um, I even like Froggy better than him, which I think is against a lot of people's opinions in the VCS. Weird Champions, Bean J played Mordekaiser, Pantheon, and Nocturne. So he pulled out a Mordekaiser in the jungle, gave it a go. Seems like a VCS thing to do. I don't think it won, though. I could be wrong. If it did, it did, but I don't think it did. 18th, we have... Where is that marker? There it is. Mail Rung. Right now, the way I'm viewing him is in spring he did very well, but like I said, this is what we're sitting at now, right? He did great in playoffs. He really did. But for a long time for Rogue, he did absolutely nothing in summer. Was probably the weakest player on the team for a good portion of it. He played a lot of J4 at the end of the split, and honestly, you take away the J4, and I think he is in a pickle. Volley Bear and Pantheon were two weird champions that he picked. Obviously, the Volley Bear was definitely more of an LEC pick than anywhere else. And the Pantheon, a couple players would play it, and he gave it a go, but he just, he's very one-dimensional. And I don't think his builds are that great. I don't think he's taking a step back pretty much. Maybe this winning the championship will give him confidence. Maybe winning in the way in which he did, dominating Razork pretty much, in my opinion, will give him, the confidence to do better at Worlds, and I hope he does do better. I think Rogue have a good chance to get out of that group. It's the group of life. I really do think so. Top, obviously, is the best team, but it's DRX's group, right? And if you watched yesterday's video, I had Odo over Kingen, and I have Malrung over Juhan. So if they go with these two in both teams so far, Rogue have the advantage. Obviously, we go through the rest of the team and things change, but as of right now, I don't think it's going to be that big of a gap between the two teams. So Malrung is 18th. 17th, definitely the best minor region jungler at MSI was Steel. Steel is a player that I really enjoyed watching, even though he was out in group stage. I think I had him as my third best jungler at the tournament. I think that he's very good. He did try and carry hard on Wukong, that is without a doubt, and now that Wukong's out of the meta, not out of the meta, but it's not as commonly picked anymore. I think that kind of hurts him a bit, which is why he's 17th and not higher on the board, but I think that he is what makes a lot of things go for DFM. They're scaling to late game, and Steel is trying to facilitate that. I don't like their style of play. I really don't. I said it when I went over DFM. I think that the scaling to late game as a team that isn't as good as the major regions, that's asking for trouble, but I thought Steel stood out for them last time around. He played Skarner, Hecarim, and J4 this past split, so the Skarner, an interesting pick, right? We only saw a few players really pull that out. The Hecarim wasn't all that common either, so it's definitely something to think about. Next, we have another carry-oriented jungler from the minor region, is Arthur from Chief. Ooh, the damn marker. Sorry about that. Arthur, like Steel, minor region Korean jungler. 1v9. I honestly, just based off of numbers throughout the split of doing my minor region power rankings and how good Chief was, right? Chief, 40-2, and then they only lost one game all split long. Arthur was the MVP of the LCO. I think that he has made a case for himself actually to get another look at the LCK again. Just very, very, very good player. He's a little longer in the tooth than you'd like, but I think that he did do very well. Maybe the best minor region jungler right now, um, out of the four minor regions, if that five minor regions, I guess. Just a very good player. Um, Played Pantheon and Nocturne. Just very dominant, very dominant. If they can get him online, he can carry. He can carry. He can make things happen. I think that Chief is the team that definitely in Group A could get to the third spot with DFM. Hence them being right next to each other. We saw Eevee and Topun are both towards the bottom yesterday in top lane, so it should be close matchups for that third slot to be able to play, probably DRX in Group B to try and get out of play-ins, but definitely a good player, very good player. Somebody that I could see taking a matchup against Razork, for example. I'm not saying that Chief beats Fnatic. I'm just saying that individually that matchup, I could see a world where Arthur would like gap Razork and they still lose. Chief still loses or something. Definitely feasible. Next, I have Gemini. Gemini, I think, is going to be just that reliable jungler. He's not, when I watched him play, I didn't think, oh my god, this guy's cracked. Looking at his champion pool, I don't think he's cracked. Actually, his champion pool is pretty standard, so there's nothing fancy or fun about it. So it's cut and dry. We know what he is. Facilitator, gets mission ahead, helps rest, helps the bot lane. I don't think he's ever going to carry the game or be the difference maker, but he's also not going to really hurt them. So he's in the middle, pretty much. I mean, consider him the equivalent of a weak side top laner that just doesn't, int his face off either. A wonder, an impact, someday or something, in that middle tier that I had yesterday. I just think Gemini is kind of just like there, which is not fair to him. Maybe I didn't watch enough Flying Oyster games, but I wasn't overly impressed by him. I was more impressed by what Rest did. Missions numbers are really good, and the bot lane with Shun also looks pretty stout. Next, we have Razork from Fnatic. I'm not impressed by Razork after the last week of the season. I think it's not fair to him, but at the same time, you take the Trundle away, and he was coin flip. You look at his win rates from summer, and you take away the Trundle. It is pretty much coin flip. He played 11 games of Trundle and won the vast majority of them. You take away the Trundle, he doesn't win anymore. He's not as reliable. And really, if you think about it, for most of summer, wasn't very good. Fnatic wasn't very good. And then they found something and they rolled with it, and take it away. And what does the team have? And I'm also going to say now, yesterday, hearing about the lack of scrims out of Fnatic is troubling, because Fnatic was in a situation where they were like uncovered. Like they found out this is the recipe to be Fnatic. Well, now you need to scrim as Fnatic to figure out another way to play the game, because you can't play that same way. And you can figure out a way to play the game without scrimming, but you can't put it into practice. And that's a concern. So Razork played Volibear. That was a weird champion he played, but otherwise it was the standard stuff that everybody played. But Trundle was the one that really worked for him. And I'm just not really impressed by what that looked like in playoffs. I'm really not. Which is unfair to him. Like I said, I'm giving G2 a little bit of a break because they struggled the last week of the split. I mean, they struggled in finals, but I'm saying, oh, well, it might have just been a bad week. Fnatic, I think it's clear to me why it happened, unlike G2, where it looked like G2 just kind of missed the boat. Fnatic just got figured out and couldn't adjust. And with the scrim situation, it remains to be seen if they adjust. How do they adjust? Next, this is where things are going to get some people are going to be like, oh, you can't put in LCS junglers, it's LEC junglers, this and that. Like, really? Honestly, I thought Closer looked better than Razork and Malrung. I think Closer is probably the best player on 100 Thieves. Um, his Lee Sin is very, very good. Um, and he's just a good player. He facilitates, he makes things happen. He usually is good in his matchup. He is not the reason that they lose, and he is the reason why they win sometimes. So, in my opinion, Closer's pretty damn good. Played Volibear, played J4. I do not think that in his group he's going to do well against Gen G, obviously. But excuse me, when playing against Gemini and CFO, I think it'll be it's a possibility, right? I have Rest way ahead of Someday, but I think that it's not out of the question to think that Closer could be a difference maker in a game against Flying Oyster. So Closer's definitely in that middle group here. Obviously, I haven't been writing tiers, so just give me a second. I realized it over here, but I really didn't make a decision on how I wanted to approach this. Oh, probably here. Let's separate the majors from the minor regions there. And that's it for now. So, like I said, the jungler role I really don't see as being high skill expression. There's not a big difference between what is expected of you and what people are doing. But some people are gonna say no, that one X player is way better than Y player, and it's like, well, can you like in this meta show me why? Because they're doing this or doing that. Well, the other player's capable of it, but the laner isn't doing it. So, and laner isn't setting them up. So is that on the jungler or the laner? Like, I feel like it's just a recipe for nonsense in the comments. But nonsense in the comments is good for the all holy algorithm. 12th. 12th is Elyoya. Elyoya is a very good jungler. I believe that he has the potential to be the best jungler in the LEC. But right now, in this meta, it is not working for him. Mad Lions, it's not working for them in general. Obviously, Armit was the worst major region top laner in yesterday's video. His champion pool is standard. There's nothing special about it in this meta, and I think that's very telling because I it's just not his. It's just not his. I don't see him playing a Skarner. I don't see him playing a Jarvan. I don't, that's just a Volibear. Well, his Volibear in the past was good, but I don't think he's going to play it. I mean, he didn't play it in summer. He could play it now, but well, really, it's pretty off meta to play it now, right? Don't play it now. But at the same time, I just think that he has not been able to 1v9 for them. He is a good player, though. Similar to Closer, if they're winning, Elyoya usually has something to do with it, and he's not losing them games. It's Armit. It's Nifsky not doing enough. It's Unforgiven, being a young player and inexperienced and making mistakes. So I think Elyoya is pretty good. 11th, Levi. The top-rated minor region jungler. Levi is very fun, a very fun player. It's been around the block, right? We saw him do very well a few years back, or yeah, definitely a few years back, and then get signed to 100 Thieves, but never get a look. Arguably one of the best Vietnamese players, that really never got a shot. He played Kindred, Kha'Zix, and Shyvana this past split, which is think about that. Kha'Zix, Shyvana, and Kindred. Kindred's obviously in the wheelhouse. Shyvana is a jungle. I mean, but at the same time, it's like, that is Vietnam in a nutshell in terms of crazy picks. And that is the value that Levi has over everybody else below him. Like, sure, he's in a minor region, but is he going to find a counter pick that you're not used to playing against that is going to get him ahead? Is going to be able to impact the matchup? Is going to be something that the laners aren't going to expect in general. It'll be something to monitor. I'm excited to see because they're in Group C as well, the Rogue group that I think Rogue has a way to get out. I think GAM Esports has a way to get out of that group. I really do. I think that they have that chaos that is necessary to take games off of teams better than you. And Levi is a great example of that. Levi is definitely one of my more interesting players to watch. I'm debating if I'll have enough time, but I might do a video where I go over like most of the players that I'm interested in seeing, that stick out to me as players that I'm going to really be like really intently watching. And if I do that, Levi is on the list, because he definitely gives a serious vibe in the jungle that other players do not. Now, this is where people are going to get real upset. This is the upset part. So we're going to go up a tier. Defending world champion, JJ. I do not believe JJ has done enough for me this split. He has not done enough for me recently either. Sure, they're going to be like, oh, but they got out of playoffs. They beat this, they beat that. And it's like, yeah, but Junjaya is like he had to be on his ass. Like, that's what it took to get JJ going, was to take him out of the game, take him out of the team multiple times. In this meta, with the lack of skill expression, this isn't last year's meta. I just really don't think JJ's done all that well. I really don't. I think that EDG, a lot of their success is Scout and the bot lane. Viper 1v9. JJ played Graves this past split. Graves is definitely very fringe. We're not seeing Graves at all, but in the LPL we saw it quite a bit. So, well, quite a bit relative to everybody else. I mean, it didn't happen much, only a couple picks, but JJ's 10th, which is going to upset some people, but I don't really care. 9th. 9th, I'm swapping who I had 8th and who I had 9th right now. I have Jankos 9th. Originally I had him 8th on this paper. I have him 8th, but I'm swapping him. Jankos can do better. This meta is a Jankos meta. And honestly, Jankos could do, like I just said, a lot better than what he's doing. The last week against Rogue was very sus. And I just don't think for a while here he's done enough. And some weird picks for him include Volibear, J4, and Diana. I mean, I remember the Diana game because I think they played Diana Yasuo. Volibear and J4 are more his style. These picks are his style. And it's weird that I haven't seen him like really pop off recently. People are going to say, oh, well, during the summer split, this. It's like, no, but what have you done for me lately? We know that patch 12.11 isn't the same as patch 12.18, right? Or 12.15 that they played on or whatever. So, Jankos is there. They're very close, though, because, like I said, little skill expression right now. So, the difference is not massive between these players. 8th is Canyon. Reason because I have Canyon ahead of Jankos is actually because Canyon has a little bit of skill expression versus Jankos and JJ in his champion pool. We saw Canyon pick Karthus, Talia, and Kiana this past split. So some interesting AP junglers, right? And Canyon might have to 1v9 for Dom 1 at times, and I think he's capable of doing so against G2 and against possibly EG or whoever gets out of play-ins and ends up in Group B. Canyon, towards the end, did did better. Showmaker did better, and those two are what makes Dom 1 go. The top lane, obviously, is a mess, and bot lane is a little sus. But as far as I'm concerned, Canyon's still an elite jungler, still can 1v9, and is not going to hurt them. Definitely, I have him above Jankos for sure. Next, 7th, and I said this in the chat that I was going to have this player higher than most people would. I'd have him higher than most people would. I said this on the Discord. Is Blabber. Blabber, down the stretch, did a lot better. C9 turned it up in playoffs. They are the hot team coming in, and that matters. That really matters. Confidence. You saw how dedicated he was after he won and got emotional. And, I mean, he has a champion pool that not many other players have in this tournament. It is an ocean. It is an ocean. He played 3 champions that nobody else played. So he played Gragas, Udyr, and Olaf. 3 champions that nobody else played in the jungle. Do I want to see the Gragas again? Probably not. But I've read that Udyr is actually a good pick that no one wants to really play. And then you have a thing like the Olaf, which we've seen him play. And do they pull out a composition where it's Olaf v9? I could see it. Will it work? Probably not, but it's something that, those sort of things are things that you need to have at this event to beat the big dogs. They're in a group with EDG and T1. I think that Blabber offers more than what other junglers are going to offer. He has 1v9 potential, and he can facilitate in ways that other players and teams just aren't willing to do. He also played Kindred, which only a couple players have played. Speaking of Kindred, Pyosik. I said on the Discord I was going to mention Pyosik because I have Juhan on here, and people are going to say, well, where's Pyosik? Why don't you have Pyosik? Well, unfortunately, I think Juhan might get the first start, which I think is wrong. But if I had Pyosik on here, I'd probably put him like here. I think Pyosik is really freaking good. So Pyosik would probably be there. Specifically. Not just in this tier, but probably between Levi and Elyoya. Although Pyosik has sucked, I think Pyosik being sus and not playing very well is still better than the majority of junglers in this tournament. And then I think we're going to get through a tier here. Do I want to? Trying to debate on how I wanted to break this up here. The whole skill expression thing, right? Okay, I figured it out. I am going to do it. I'm going to do it this way. So we have a gap between Blabber and Wei from RNG. And people are going to say, of course there's a gap there. Well. What has Wei done lately? Wei did well in regional qualifiers. I thought they were one and done in playoffs, but right, they lost EDG one and done. They didn't have a game before that, I don't recall. And then they did well in playoffs. Yeah, they did. They beat LNG. Lost EDG, beat LNG. And went to 5 games against LNG, didn't they? Yeah, well, maybe he didn't do as well as I thought. Nevertheless, I think Wei is definitely solid. Definitely one of the better junglers in this tournament, without a doubt. This meta just has not fit him the way MSI did. A very young player, though. We have to keep that in mind. We thought of Zays and Wayward yesterday. And you have to say to yourself, young players are going to make mistakes at an international event. They are against the best of the best, and that's going to happen. Pressure, just seeing new things, new experiences, and that sort of stuff matters. It matters, and Wei is 6th because of that. Nocturne is the only weird champion he really picked, which is another knock against him versus specifically the guy ahead of him. Because people are going to say, no way is that player ahead of this player. Blah, 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 blah. Well, I do have it that way. 5th is Inspired. The LCS MVP, Inspired, I have been a fan of for a long time. I'm not going to beat around the bush. I think that he is one of the better junglers in the world during a carry meta. This is not a carry meta. This is a facilitator meta, and even then he was still the MVP and played very well. Inspired is super good. He is super talented. I think that he has the potential to carry EG through play-ins. Honestly, I could see him beating Fnatic in the game they play Fnatic by himself, 1v9, and win the group and get to the win the play-ins, get to groups. And I don't think anybody could say that can't happen. They could say it's unlikely, but I don't think they could say it can't happen. Inspired's just cracked out of his mind. Lilia, Kane, and Hecarim are 3 junglers we saw him play this past split that not many others played. Hecarim is very important, right? Hecarim just got buffed, got nerfed, but Hecarim still is expected to be a very big pick this this world, and if he was willing to play it before, he's going to be willing to play it again. And Inspired, I think, is just so talented. It's really, if he had an opportunity to play again in like the Super Server or LCK solo queue, he'd be an even better player, and he would definitely probably be even higher on this list. But he's limited by what he plays around. So 5th place for Inspired. Next, I have Owner. I think another player that's very good, Carry 1v9, tries his damnedest to make things happen for, I gotta keep this red marker actually, tries to do everything for T1, as T1 really, with bot lane being so sus for a while now, Faker is really not the same player he was before. Owner's trying to do it. He really is, and it's hard to do it in this meta. His Lee Sin is obviously very, very good. It got a slight buff coming into Worlds, and I could see him playing his Lee Sin a lot. It's definitely his signature champion. He played Morgana, Skarner, and Hecarim this past... Oh, no, that's Peanut, sorry. Diana, Morgana, and Pantheon. So, and he played the Diana a few times, I believe. So, Owner has a lot to offer. Owner's a very good player. He's very young. Similar to what I said about Wei, I think that both of them, this is a big moment for them, as this is their second time around. MSI was when the lights all came on for them. But, I mean, in the finals and things like that. But, you know, can they develop? Can they continue to get better at international events and take the next step? So we'll see. I'm excited, to say the least. Next, we have a tier gap here. Peanut. Peanut has definitely been the best LCK jungler in this meta. This meta is a Peanut meta. Peanut is not a player that I see as a 1v9 player, but I see a very smart, experienced player that knows how to set things up and make things happen at a high level and a high rate and a high success rate. Peanut's Poppy is very good. His Morgana is very good. He's a very, very, very good player. And for that, he's third. I think he's a guy that makes things happen. And he played, like I said earlier, and misspoke, Morgana, Skarner, and Hecarim. He played the Skarner quite a bit. And honestly, could we see it again? I don't know. But at the same time, I think he is a player that could pull it out and they still win. Like, he's very good. He's very talented. And his experience gives him an advantage over guys here. You know? This is an experience gap. Not necessarily a skill gap. Because skill, like I said in this meta over and over again multiple times this video, I just don't see skill being a real big difference maker. I see players that are more comfortable in this meta being a difference, and I think that Peanut is just more comfortable. He's been here before, he's done it before, where these guys have not. So Peanut is third. Second, I have Tien. which is going to be like, oh my God, what are you doing? But he won LPL MVP. How could he be behind the guy that's in first who didn't win LPL MVP? Well, I don't think he should have won LPL MVP. That's why. Tien, very similar to Peanut. I have them pretty much hand in hand, equals. I have them as equals. I really do going into this tournament. I think Top and Gen G are so similar, except top lane being completely different. It's hard to really say, but I have them at the same power level. And Jungle is at the same power level. Both players make things happen at a high level. Tien's been at this event before and come out victorious. Just like Peanut, I think that he definitely is going to make things happen for Top against Rogue, against GAM Esports, and likely who is DRX. I think he's very, very, very talented. Graves and Nocturne are the two champions. They played their outside of the box. I do think that is a detriment, that his champion pool isn't as deep as the others. And some could say, yeah, but you don't need a 10 champion pool. It's like, no, but I would like to see the willingness to pick counters that other people aren't expecting to get unexpected advantages. Now, Top don't need to do that. Teams towards the top, like Top Esports, Gen G, JDG, RNG, UGT1, all these guys, they really can just play meta and probably get away with it. And then when it gets to quarters, semis, that's when you get kind of freaky. But as of right now, Tien probably doesn't need to get freaky. He's just fine the way he is. And then first place, the only player that I see is really showing skill expression is Kanavi from JDG. Against the odds, I believe Kanavi is showing skill expression. You see it in his picks. Some are int. The Belveth can be very inty. Played Talia, played Morgana in the playoffs. He is a player that is 1v9 all the time, and now you see 369 stepping it up lately and playing like the best top laner in the world, hence being first yesterday, spoiler alert. But Kanavi has been very good for so long this split. He should have been MVP. It was stolen in my opinion. I think that he is the only jungler that is trying to get ahead in pathing, farm to 6 on occasion, also facilitate, like, he's doing a little bit of everything, where a lot of the other players I don't think are really doing that. Very standard and in a box. We know what they're going to do, and it's just a matter of can the waves get in a position to set it up, where Kanavi's like, well, I'll just farm till 6. I'll wait until it happens, instead of trying to force something or waste time. I just think Kanavi is very good. I think, and at the top, though, you see 3 players that I have in similar regard. They're all very close and very, very, very good. So in the comments, comment down below with your opinions, but keep in mind that tiers are tiers, and as far as I'm concerned, you could put them in any order you want within a tier, and it's whatever. I don't think it's a big deal. Like the video if you like it, subscribe to the channel for daily League of Legends content. Go to the playlist. It should be popping around my head by now or soon, where I go over all the teams. I've went over top lane, like I said. Become a YouTube member. Follow me on Twitter. Join the Discord. Subscribe to the channel. Like the video. And I hope you come back for more content.